So, John, this is what I want to learn. So, I was listening to classical music the other day at home. I put on my headphones. I was listening to classical. It was like the Spotify playlist, Bach, Beethoven, all these people. And I was just sitting there listening to the complexity of the music. And I thought someone wrote this, like someone with a pen and paper wrote these notes down and this movement. And it's like a 16-minute piece. And like all the violins and the horns, like what everyone is doing, they wrote all that, you know? And I was thinking like, it sort of has plateaued in terms of like musical creativity. We still have a ton now, but like that was almost like it came from nowhere, I think.
Right. It's like it went from nothing to an incredible amount of musicality, talent, depth, and all of that. And then we've been slowly but surely just heading downhill.
Right. So like
for
Green
the last
Day
200 years.
Which is like cool on its own.
Right.
But you kind of have like 30s and 40s.
But what about
like,
what about John Williams and
I think
other
those guys are
composers?
super talented and very, very good at their craft, but still borrowing from, like, this is similar to like the Leo Fender, right out of the gate, 1950, he draws a
Telecaster.
A broadcaster, you know, and the world, makes fun of it and says it's stupid, and then all of a sudden it's like it's the number one guitar for Fender, and still is one of the most iconic guitar. So it's like, did we get better from the Telecaster? That's how I felt listening to this music, going like. So here's the roundabout. What I want to learn and study. It might be a book or a video. I got to find someone that knows this. But like, what was music like that influenced these people to write? What was happening right before it? Like in a world where there was no classical music like we would think of it. And then all of a sudden this breaks out in cathedrals and concert halls across the world. What?
Yeah.
Well, where did that all come from? Like,
oh, that's really interesting.
It's
like,
like
what was the inspiration for classical music?
Like little Bach and little Beethoven.
What are they listening to?
And maybe, I don't know. I'm sitting here not knowing a lot of this, but like maybe they're not the first. Maybe they were influenced by people like them, but somebody was the first. All of a sudden, like we had no rock music, and then all of a sudden in the 40s or 50s, whenever that happened, people started playing distorted guitars. That was like a new sound. I'm thinking of the world before classical music.
Were you tuning that 18-string guitar this whole time?
I was. Speaking of getting things right the first time.
Right. We've been talking for a while. You've been tuning 18 strings.
Look at that thing.
Probably, like, you just, like, Baruch atah Adonai, like, the Aaronic benediction probably goes back to the beginning of Judaism. Like,
a lot of vocal
the first
music.
people wandering around the desert. So, like, the idea of someone singing and then, like, singing over something, like, they had harps way back. Like, 1,500 years before Mozart and 1,000 years, they were suspending strings under tension to get. So I don't think the music. I don't think classical. I don't think any of those guys invent that style of music. It may have been at a time in Europe when you could get probably the largest bands in concert together because
I think that's what made it different. Right,
because primarily what I'm thinking of is arranging.
All of that stuff existed. All of those instruments have existed for a long time before that.
Yeah, all those instruments were not created. It had to be very old by the time they were used.
Right,
in the way they were used.
Yeah, because by the time like Mozart, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky is doing what they're doing, those guys all studied under masters, and that means there were masters of every instrument.
Right,
and that means there were masters like. Even the instruments they were playing wouldn't have been the first. Like if they were playing trumpets, trombones, those weren't even the first instruments. There would have been predecessors to the trumpet, predecessors to the trombone, just like we have predecessors to the guitar. So there would have been earlier instruments, like maybe whatever lute they were playing probably wasn't even tuned the way the earlier lutes were tuned.
But my point is though, or maybe his point is that at some point someone said, we should put 200 of these things together.
Yeah.
And I'm going to write one piece of music.
I think
and it's all going to be incorporated, and there's going to be a thematic movement.
Exactly.
But I think what you're going to run into is the limit you'll hit. It's not that there wasn't the stuff. It's that you're going to hit the limit of when did people start writing music like this down.
Right.
Rather than they learned music by ear and they just played it in a tavern, in a bar.
I think that's specifically what I'm talking about is orchestrating. I'm thinking of the dudes that orchestrated this music. That came from somewhere all of a sudden. Like it was not there and then it was, and I just think that's really fascinating, interesting.
Some music history major is watching.
Was like they had a vision or a dream
right now.
Yeah. It's a big leap
frantically typing comments. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's a big leap from like 10 people singing together to like 100-piece orchestra playing a concerto.
Yeah.
Like that progression. You can see it along the way, I'm sure. I just don't know the story of that. Like, how did
but what you said earlier, though, is this the best music? Is this the height of like?
Yeah, I mean, it's all subjective in what you like. I was just like, when a lot of times classical music, especially nowadays, is in the background. It's like a film score, or it's in a commercial or a cartoon or something, and you're just like listening to. But when you put your headphones on and you just like imagine people holding instruments playing it, or a conductor looking at a score filled with notes that someone came out of their brain, I just think like that is so incredible.
Yeah.
And how did those people develop that in the 1400s, 1500s, whenever that happens,
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, if you know of a book, let me know in the comments, or some source. I would love to just read about that.
The other weird thing I heard one time, it's like the people that attended those concerts may only hear their favorite song played like once or twice in their whole life.
Right.
Imagine that. No recordings or anything.
So it's like that's why they're so long. That's why they're so grandiose, because it wasn't very often that you would even hear it. You know what I mean?
And apparently church was a huge place for this to happen.
For sure. I mean, that's what you're saying. Like a lot of this stuff is like based in religious ceremony and all of that.
Yeah. I mean, the Renaissance is that period of time.
So does that mean?
But I would say that. I mean, is it the best? I mean, one thing that's missing is rhythm. It is the big hole that doesn't come from that part of the world that we have,
like drums and stuff
that we have in all music afterwards, and that doesn't come from that part of the world. So, like you'll notice, classical music is fairly devoid of constant percussion.
Right.
There's some percussive stuff, but the thing that makes jazz, really revolutionary in terms of music and where it's created is jazz is really created here on this continent, in the North American continent, and it's because it's the fusing of musical traditions that had never really met before. You'll never find the composer from Europe who goes to Africa and discovers rhythm and the drum and then wants to bring it back. They weren't looking for they weren't looking for collabs. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, hey, come be on my record.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, they didn't have that. Like, it's like, that's not, it's like, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like, these guys come from traditions. Like, these aren't lone geniuses that come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And all of those guys, all their stories, they all study under people who are hugely accomplished, also. But the thing that makes jazz cool in North America is that later it's there's a small group of people who get educated on like European harmony theory and are exposed and are playing with or are living with people who have traditional, whether it be call and response, like chants, right, from fields, or whether it's like the like Negro spirituals, like just clapping and singing, you know what I mean? Or like the drum thing, that's like where those two things come together. That's why jazz is really interesting. There's a lot of old, like in the 40s, there's a ton of jazz fiddle players. And we don't really think today of jazz as having like a fiddle or something.
But they knew that.
Yeah, it's like violins are really fine, or like a fiddle is like a country bumpkin kind of guy, but they had that, they had that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just a thing. Like, I mean, classical doesn't really get modern, does it?
Kind of like, I guess that would be all the film scores. And
stuff film scores is modern orchestra.
Yeah. But I don't know. Does classical morph into like rock bands? Like, no, that goes a different way.
I don't know.
Like,
have you heard some of Hans Zimmer's stuff?
Right,
kind of.
Super theatrical.
Right, yeah. But like, is that classical music? It's definitely inspired by it.
But it's the same.
But like what we have today.
Yeah.
Rock comes out of rhythm and blues, which comes out of jazz.
Right.
And I don't mean like Kenny G jazz.
Obviously.
Right.
I mean, like really early.
Wait, Kenny G is not the godfather of jazz? I thought this whole time.
Is he the Leo Fender of jazz?
If you spend a lot of time in elevators, you'd think he's the Taylor Swift of our time, right? like this guy.
Oh my gosh.
This guy, the money he must make.
No, I listen to a lot of jazz at home.
Yeah.
Like if I'm cooking or something, it's usually just like, hey, play some jazz.
Do you have favorite artists, or is it like a playlist?
It's like a playlist. There's like a lot of Dizzy Gillespie. Gillespie. And then Miles Davis, of course, and like that kind of stuff.
Dizzy's like a bebop guy,
yeah.
and that's like more of a swing that comes before Miles Davis, before the '60s.
But what's so
kind of what cool jazz was.
What's so great about it is the variation of not all jazz is the same, right?
Yeah.
So there's like crooners and like lounge, like vibey singing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and then there's like progressive wildness.
Yeah,
and that's the kind of stuff my wife just hates.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
She can't handle it, but I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like a huge like progressive.
Line of like big band jazz in the 40s is pop music. Every big singer is in front of a big band jazz band.
Yeah.
Like that's what music was. And then bebop goes a little more like urban, and it's like this swinging dance stuff. And then the direct line after that, what happens in music, like blows up. So this is HW's college jazz.
I was like, where is he getting
3
that?
semesters of college.
Yeah.
So like Dizzy Gillespie, and a little later like John Coltrane and like Thelonious Monk. These guys are like the bridge that goes like old to new almost, because Miles Davis comes right at this time, and he marries a Spanish woman. He lives in Spain. Makes a completely different record. He then played like John, the guys who made the Mahavishnu Orchestra, which was like an early like rock prog record. Like everybody in Toto and Phil Collins and all those guys who end up doing prog stuff, like what's another prog? Yes, like Jocko. They all listened to Jocko and the Mahavishnu Orchestra, who played with Miles Davis, who was experimenting with this stuff, right? And then he had learned to play like bebop, and comes up there, and music just splinters. Like the '60s, everyone's doing drugs,
right? And
really, like it becomes all these genres. Of like this genre of jazz, this genre, like this is blues, this is like experimental. That's like the time when like world music is like a term that comes out. Because what the heck is world music? World music just means like
it's like a blanket term.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of jazzy, but it also means I went out and found an obscure instrument from
in the world somewhere,
and I put it on this record, right?
Yeah.
That's so funny that you say all that, because that's literally what's happened with metal in the last 20 years.
Right.
Is that it's splintered into like a million subgenres, and unless you're really into it, it all just sounds like metal.
Because where does metal start? Unless you're Yngwie and you say it starts with like
it starts with
classical.
It starts with Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. That's metal.
That's what I was gonna say. Is Tony Iommi the first like metal guitar player, and then all sort of follows him?
Yeah.
Because you listen back to Black Sabbath, it's not hard music.
No, not like by today's standards, but that's there's a lot of discussion, especially nowadays, about like what makes heavy music heavy.
Yeah.
And it's not tuning your guitar low. Right? Because heavy music has sounded heavy.
Right.
In comparison to what's come before it for 50 years.
Because it sounds evil.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like metal.
Yeah.
But it's not like super heavy guitars.
No, well,
it's not like,
because they didn't have the electronics.
Right, everything was on 10 already.
Right.
Yeah, you had
that was the max.
Yeah, that was the max. It was more about songwriting.
It's crazy to think that,
and then lyrical content too.
But, it's crazy to think that like Tony Iommi starts in that band, and I think there were other guitar players between, but he leaves that band, and you think of the guy who replaced him in that band for a long time,
Randy Rhoads. Was it Randy Rhoads, or was there someone in between?
It was Randy Rhoads played it, and then Zakk Wylde.
Oh yeah.
And I think of just the gear and the sound that Zakk Wylde gets today, and to think that's a guy who's in the same band as like
Tony Iommi. Yeah.
And that's wild how much the gear has changed, the sound has changed, the whole genre has changed
for sure.
Yeah,
once like high gain started coming out, and now it's kind of funny. It's like now it's actually kind of going back down. Like a lot of guys that are tuning really, really low, playing 8-string guitars.
Yeah.
Like you can't have that much gain.
Right.
You lose all sense of what you're
cleaner.
playing.
Yeah.
So
and then pretty soon you're back to Charlie Hunter, jazz guitar player who's playing 8-9 string guitars.
Yeah.
But he's running half like the low strings into a bass amp, playing all the brutal stuff, but it's squeaky clean. I mean, it's like it's jazz. Like
it's all, and that's the funny thing is like it's all like most progressive music is all jazz.
Yeah.
It, you know. That's what makes it interesting. That's why I actually started loving jazz, because I'm like, oh,
it's not that
this
far.
sounds like what I love to listen to, but it's different instruments.
Mm-hmm.
It's clean guitars and it's trumpets and it's stand-up basses and pianos and some of the drum solos that are happening in jazz music are insane.
Yeah,
you know.
But back to Sousa's point, like, did we peak with classical music? Name another genre that fires cannons.
It's pretty dope.
That's like. Load up the cannon and fire it. And not only that, fire it in time.
Right. My first thought was like, I mean, Metallica has like pyrotechnics on stage, but they're not part of the music.
Right. They're not part, right. They don't record explosions.
Right.
Yeah. Totally.
I mean, what's the equivalent? Like, I think it would be like if you recorded like a cruise missile dropping and like put it on your...
No,
or like actual.
It is true.
I mean, it would be
I
like,
love that.
You know, I don't want to say
what music?
I don't want to talk too much about weapons. Like YouTube's gonna, strike this. Or whatever,
I think cannons in classical music is safe territory.
Yeah, I was gonna try to draw a modern parallel, but cannons.
Don't do it.
Yeah. Well, so here we are, and welcome to Guitar Friends
podcast number
episode. Who knows? We took a little break.
20 something.
Maybe people 20? Didn't notice.
Not
we took
high.
A little break.
Maybe.
We took a little break. So this is gonna. People are probably gonna hear this.
Did we take a break because you had to tune that guitar?
Yeah, I had to tune the guitar. Took this
for the last 2 weeks.
It took 2 weeks to do.
Well, actually, this is the first thing I want to get, and this will be a clip that comes out first. So you might have already heard this if you're listening to the actual episode. This is the official apology to all Tone Junkie fans and subs. We got Black Friday killed us. We got way behind on Quad Cortex. At the time I'm recording this, we've been caught up for a long time. I also heard from some people who, were like, hey, I bought at 60% off because you said it was 60% off for Black Friday. And then Black Friday rolled around, you did 80% off. I trusted you.
How dare you?
And I actually understand. That is a little, I didn't mean to do that, but I did it. I more meant that was a pre-Black Friday sale. Things tend to get better. Now that doesn't, hey, look, I hope that was a good thing. But as many times as many emails as I get from rubbing people the wrong way, it's kind of in the Tone Junkie DNA to go crazy, to push the envelope, to just blow up your inbox with almost free stuff.
There's a lot of that.
I had a lot of people mad that they didn't get the 100%. A lot of people saying, you don't even really do the 100%. I've never gotten anything higher than 70 or 80.
Really?
Got to be fast.
But
that's interesting.
Can I just can I pull out a number here that is like going to be incredible? I'm going to turn away from the camera for a minute. But this is actually like insane numbers. Talk about something for a second, guys.
So you don't listen to classical music? Like when you're cooking dinner?
No, not usually.
Try it tonight. When next time you're cooking dinner.
Do I just say
you go to Spotify, you hit classical music, hit the playlist?
I don't use Spotify.
Apple Music's got to have
Same
something.
thing.
Yeah.
You know what I do actually listen to that's in the same kind of vein is like just solo piano music a lot.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I really love that.
Yeah, my boys like to go to sleep to like sleep playlists that are usually like
I'll just edit this a little bit out. I'll just cut me in. Okay, kind of insane numbers that I just had to pull up because I want people to know. Will you guess how many people got 100% off?
Like total amount of orders?
Total amount of orders placed.
Like
not
the number
packs.
Of,
the number of packs is some multiple of this.
I'm going to say 430.
I have no context.
310 people.
Dang.
Now but that does not include the cyber thing, so it's actually more than that.
Oh.
And if anyone's zooming up, all these codes are inactive right now.
They're pausing, they're zooming, they're pausing.
They're pausing, they're zooming. You also take the Cyber 100.
Should blur it out.
And
I think the camera's already doing that.
Okay, it's another like 10 or 15 uses. But here's the thing. Okay, how many people do you think, this is where it gets crazy. How many people do you think got 90% off on an order? Across all the emails, all the flashes, all the everything.
617.
I have no context.
1,110.
Wow.
Got
Double.
90% off.
Dang, one more person and it would have been 1111.
I mean, I should turn it back on for that. The 80, I don't see it here. I don't know. That might it's probably active right now.
So the people who got at least 90% off,
or greater, has got to be in there's around 1,500 people.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Insane.
That's a lot of people.
Insane.
That's many more than 0 people.
Many more. So if you, I never want people to feel like, I don't. I had some people email me. I don't babysit my inbox. I don't have time for this. Mm-hmm. Can I just get 100% off code?
Just straight up asking.
She's like, okay,
I want free.
Hey, that's a strategy.
Hey, you have not because you asked not.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And that's awesome. That's bold.
Does it work?
Usually not. I like to gamify these things. I think that is a really fun thing that few people are doing in the world. And so even though some people get upset, and I know some people, they put the 100% off in the cart and they're working on filling it out, and then they all get used up. And they're in, and it's supposed to hold it, but it doesn't always. Sometimes you're able to enable, and then it won't allow you to enable it. And all the time I see, I made 50 available, and it got used 51 times. The system let an extra one through. Mm-hmm. And I know that rubs people the wrong way. As a
software engineer, that seems like a big problem, but go on.
Tolerances. What's another one?
Yeah.
That's what we call a race condition, where two things are racing toward a thing, and it lets both of them through when it should only let one through.
Yeah,
they can't both win.
That's a race condition.
It happens. Interesting. It happens fairly often that
computers
I get
work really quickly. I don't know if you guys know this.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to orchestrate things perfectly.
And dude,
interesting.
People are working really quickly to get these deals. I will often re-enable some of the 100% off codes. Mm-hmm. And by the time I can go over and hit send on the email, boop, 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 4 or 5 have been used. There might only be 10
They don't even know.
People are just sitting there trying.
They're just trying.
They have stuff in their cart and they're just like,
oh my gosh.
No.
These are people that work on their computers all day, just have a window open, just trying it.
And I don't know if someone's written some script.
I'm sure they have.
Interesting.
Because I turn it on and...
Really? That's incredible.
And so I'm over
here.
So
they're automating it basically.
They must. Some people must be.
Wow,
and God bless you if you're doing that.
Hey,
you earned it.
You got 100%
you
off.
Earned it.
If you care that much.
If you care that much, then we're all winners. You know what I mean?
True, yeah.
Then we're all doing something right.
If
you took the time to care that much. So this is my sincere apology to anybody who I pissed off with so many emails, but it's fun. And with they put something in their cart and it didn't work out, they didn't get it. I'll just say, some people send me an email and they're very upset that they didn't get 90% off and now they're only going to get 80. And a little bit it's like, well, please don't complain too much. This is still a very,
it's a deep discount.
What's any of this worth?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially when we're talking about a pack that might be $20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're getting a giant bundle. It's another thing if you're like just trying to buy 3 packs. I mean, at some point it's like, are we talking about $6? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's the principle of the whole thing. Yeah.
Right. I had 3 eggs for breakfast. I think that was $6.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Are eggs the best food?
I think they're the best food.
Liquid meat, someone said?
I think they're the best food. So that's my official apology. That liquid meat. That's
I said it, but Alton Brown actually said it.
Okay, he's famous.
So that's my official apology. My bad. And but I'm not going to stop.
So sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, sorry, not sorry. This is just you can't run a lot of businesses like this. And so it would seem like a crime to not.
No, I think that's what's fun and special about Tone Junkie is, you don't have to babysit your inbox, but if you look at it, I don't know, once a week, there's going to be one in there.
There's going to be one in there.
You do stuff all the time.
And on this subject, I did a lot of shopping online during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all that stuff. I never saw anything close to these kinds of discounts.
No.
I got 10%, 15%.
Yeah.
This year was characterized by no deals at all. No one's doing anything out there.
Right.
Because there's so much
off.
demand, everything's going to sell out, blah, blah, blah.
Here you are doing 80% off. I'm just saying, like, hey, that's saying something that it's still there. You know what I mean?
You know?
But whatever.
And the Quad Cortex stuff, I can't do this again. It was too much work.
That was a lot.
It's not even about selling it at such a low price. Just too many orders came in that I had to fill.
Because of the delivery is so clunky.
Yeah, and then people were messaging me on Saturday. Like, I bought this Thursday night, Friday night. And I'm like, I'm not working right now.
Wait, I'm sorry. I don't understand the complexity. You have to, like, individually...
I have to manually fill the Quad Cortex orders. I have to go find your name and hit send. And so when you order an everything Quad Cortex pack, I basically have to do that like 12 or 13 times.
In the Quad Cortex system, you have
online,
on the cloud,
on the Cortex cloud.
Oh my!
It's real. It's not meant for what we're doing with it.
I can write a script to help you with that.
That could be very beneficial.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on them to build their store, and I had many conversations. I've had many recent conversations, so I'll just confirm they are closer than ever to a store, and. They are. Is that confirming?
I would
anything
hope
at all?
that would be the case.
That's what look. I've been building software a long time, you guys. That's what everyone says all the time.
Okay, let me just say this.
We're nearly there.
We're nearly there.
Let me just say this.
I'll tell you a joke after.
I have had many. I might have signed an NDA. I think I'm fine. I have had initial conversations about what would you like to see in a store, and then we've gotten to the point that I've seen actual things mocked up. And talk to the people whose job it is to actually build these things, not just the one guy who's the head of something. So I'm saying there actually is work being done. They really are working on it. I will just confirm they're not doing it.
Yeah.
In their defense, we've been playing these Quad Cortex plugins and everyone likes them. I know that they had a hell of a time getting them to work on this updated Apple architecture.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think... What happened was all hands on deck went to that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because we've got all these products that people can't go forward with.
Yeah.
And so that became a challenge.
Right.
It looks like from what they said in the updates that's all solved and it's good. Now I think we're going to get there. So I'm just saying as a partner on the court and someone who wants it, trust me, I want it more than anybody. They are doing something. I wish it had been faster, but they're working on this. And so that's why we're in this limbo thing. Where I didn't want to wait any longer. But, and I'm happy that people are getting that pack for $10, $15. I'm happy people are getting it for $40, $50. Great. But there were so many people that just boom, 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 and it just took forever. And like I said, I didn't work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come back Monday, it's Cyber Monday. I'm still trying to do flash sales. People are like, where's my stuff? I'm like, guys, it's a holiday.
The joke is that with software, when you're 80% done, there's only 90% left to do.
That's how close you are.
That makes total sense. Wow. All right. What are we talking about today? We got a lot of stuff.
We have a Nauticon.
I got it. We got a Nauticon. Do you want to start building it?
Not yet.
Okay.
I love mentioning it, but refusing to start it. No,
well, I mean,
yeah,
so
we can.
So I bought this.
What is that thing?
This is a 12-string Greco that's been rebranded Gibson. But it's a Gibson, I guess.
It's not. It's just a 12-string. It's an 18-string.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it's an 18-string. Excuse me. This is an 18-string double neck, and it's tremendous. I plan to make this my number one guitar. So I'm working on two things. I've got this guitar, and it needs to be restrung and stuff. But I've been doing some stuff to it, and I have a new little pedal board that I'll show in the future that I'm working on just for wacky sounds, so that I can add it next to my very sensible Kemper, which does everything I need. But this board will do everything
you don't need.
I sometimes want rarely, like this.
It's extra.
I gotta say,
it's extra and it's awesome.
Playing that guitar is an experience. It's not like anything else.
It doesn't feel like playing guitar. It feels like playing something else.
It feels like playing a different instrument.
Right. I was noticing this whole time that he was in a position where he couldn't play the guitar because he's holding his microphone.
I know. If only
a stand would have changed.
If only
a lot.
we had 3 microphone stands.
Right.
His face says it all. What else can you say? It's perfect.
I couldn't speak, so I had to just.
No, we were trying to just let you play. You were having a moment.
You were having a moment.
I mean,
look. We are guitar friends.
this is the
as evidenced by the last just 60 seconds.
How you can't do that with another guitar,
right?
You cannot do it.
Yeah.
In some ways, is it just an elaborate Pog pedal?
It's like
absolutely.
It's the best of all worlds with the Pog.
As we were pointed out earlier, it's like a Pog on the low 4 strings and a chorus pedal on the top 2 strings.
Yeah.
You know,
you can't build a pedal to do that.
No. Yeah, you can't.
You just can't.
And the bottom, the bottom is a killer guitar, you know?
So explain how all the knobs and switches work.
So we've got our pickup selector, and then we've got our guitar selector. You want to play this guitar? There you go. Want to play that guitar? There you go. Want to play both guitars? There you go.
Now they're both on.
And then it's this really cool thing where if you're on the 12, someone knew that you might want like Rickenbacker sound. So here's the full like humbucker. But you've got these, I don't really know what they are. They split or do something, but I just push them in and out, both in and both out. There's a sound if they're one or the other, whatever. But now it sounds more like thin. Like I'm on the neck here, and look how thin this is going to sound. It's very like Rickenbacker 12-string-esque, you know?
Sounds great.
I mean, that's how I would want it all the time. You know what I mean? I prefer that. Yeah. It's almost like an effect at that point. It's more like thin and chorusy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And like so I'm going to play it all the time like that. And then I'm just going to do all the real business down here.
So you're planning on playing this Sunday in church?
The odds of me, as I said earlier, the odds of me playing the intro on Joy to the World this Sunday, not on a 12-string with a wah is 0%.
The wah brings it to a whole
zero. And I don't have the wah set up, so that's why y'all are going to have to show up and find out what that sounds like. I want to see it
happen. But the temptation of me holding that guitar is that I just play the 12-string the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, like it's switching is kind of like, okay, it's cooler.
I think it's going to be like I'm going to sparingly jump up here.
Okay.
You know, it's like, oh, what are we going to do behind verse 2? You know, what do you play behind a verse 2?
You click the Pog on.
Right, click the Pog on. You do something a little interesting, a little more vibrato, a little chorus. Boom. Wow. We got it all. That's where we're going to show this thing. Right. But I'm also playing with another guitar player. So now it's not only high-low.
Is he going to play the other neck while you're playing?
No,
he's arms over the shoulders.
He's probably going to play a telly.
Yeah. Who's the big spoon?
But fun fact.
That's a great question.
Fun fact, I will have more strings this weekend than all the other players combined. There will be another electric guitar player, 6-string, another acoustic guitar player, 6-string, and a bass player. He will play a 4 or 5-string. Either way, I've got him beat because they're max going to have 17 strings, and I will have the full power of 18.
How sad will you be if you break a string and like match them? You know?
Oh my gosh,
that stat went away.
I know.
But this is the coolest thing. You know, I'm saying this is going to be my number one. Is it going to be my number one? It'll probably be my number 2 and 3.
I mean, it's at least your number 1 and 2.
You got great guitars like Trini.
Yeah.
Goldie.
Never play Trini out. Rarely play Goldie out. Sometimes though.
But I've never seen you happier holding an instrument than that thing.
It's really true.
It's something
I
else.
have to be honest.
It's every part. I don't know. Goldie is. I mean, if I were going to grab one guitar,
that would be
the smile on your face with this guitar.
You can't erase it.
Is special.
It's really.
You're so proud of yourself. Like every note, like
every other guitar, it's like, man, look how cool this is. We're all excited about it. That one, you just want to play.
Yeah.
You're happy to just play that guitar.
It's just
by yourself.
I think
forever.
it's incredible. I think it's.
he has achieved this.
I think it's. I think it's an incredible musical option to have a second neck with the 12 string. Whether you want to use it all the time or not, is a tendency to overuse it. Yeah. But I overuse the bar. Nobody complains.
No.
You know?
My takeaway is
face.
I'd love to have a 12-string electric. I just I've never played one. And I think they're killer.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I said when I first played that.
That would be great.
I just realized I've never played a 12-string electric guitar until this moment.
But the disadvantage is
only acoustics.
Only
I had played a Taylor.
the disadvantage is if you're on the 12-string electric, you're kind of stuck on the 12-string electric. With this one,
You can
get to
jump
just go right back to
I know.
right back to business.
I will say,
you know,
if you're trying to switch between the necks and stuff and pickups, it's a very disorienting.
Yeah,
it's not a guitar you can pick up and be proficient playing.
Yes.
There's a 30% chance you'll be like, dang it.
it is.
That's not the right spot.
It is. It's weird. Like,
Totally.
like we're all pretty accurate going up and down the neck, but we never take our hand off and quickly try to go back onto a neck to grab something. But
Maybe
you're doing
that's
that
what it
here.
is.
We never
It's like-
practice that.
Yeah, switching back and forth, just if you didn't have to mess with the electronics, is hard enough.
And the angle is something where I've been in E and then I jump down here and start in D. Like I go down a full step and that looks right, and then I'm like, oh wait, because it's this angle. The 12.
They're not completely lined up.
No,
you know, like
it's a thing.
They are, but
you know,
it's really bizarre because
see how that nut is further.
I don't know. Well, it's hard to tell. What I was going to say is it's the bottom guitar feels a lot lower than you expect it to be.
Yes.
And way higher on the top.
Yes, it's like there's
nothing's in the middle.
There's no happy medium.
No,
there.
you got to play. This
interesting.
one has to feel too high, and this one has to feel too low.
Yeah.
And then it's just right.
Yeah. And
so
the
it's
only
like-
solution for that is a triple neck with the middle one that feels just right.
I mean,
You're following some on reverb.
yeah.
I mean, I would love this too if it were.
You know he is.
If they made like an electric 6-string and a mandolin up top, I would learn
sure
to
they
play the
do.
mandolin.
I'm sure they do.
They do. They're hard to find.
Next Christmas.
Yeah.
Joy to the world again.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you have it.
Yeah, I think
I
think
don't want to play it.
It's
very
all.
often, but
I'm
glad you
excited.
do.
I'm really excited, and I wasn't even scheduled for this weekend. But I called the other dude, and I was like, "Hey, I gotta." I wasn't even scheduled. I called him, and I said, "Hey,
I gotta get on.
I said, hey, dude. I said, hey, do you mind if I join you this weekend?" He said, absolutely, but only on one condition. And I texted back, of course that's why I'm texting you.
I have a new toy. I need to use it immediately.
And so, we've got the type of thing we could, we always need at least one person, playing the electric guitar. But, if you want to do 2 people, they won't really schedule 2 people, but you can jump up there and just join somebody else. Because we like to usually do 2 if we can. But
now, if you play by yourself on the weekends, would you count that as one guitar player with that guitar?
I would definitely demand to be patched into EG1 and 2.
Okay.
But
you can't split the output, though. You can't spend...
No, on this model, you cannot split the output. Okay. But that was... Some were made that way.
2 Kempers. Each guitar gets a separate Kemper.
Mm-hmm. Well, one would probably be a quad Cortex.
Oh.
I'm
no. You have options.
But it's... anything that makes you think differently and anything that makes you go, okay, what should I do here?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm thinking this guitar is going to do. Mm-hmm. So I got the music. I'm going to sit down and play through the music. And it's going to be like, okay, I'm going to leave my buddy playing his telly, playing his thing alone. I might do some lead stuff up here on some, on this guitar for some stuff. But I'm also going to be thinking at everything, when can I throw something in on this? Mm-hmm. So we're playing that melody, right? It's like, that's got to be on the 12.
Right. No, look, I'm actually a big fan of that. I think something that forces you to get out of your comfort zone, forces you out of the ruts that you're in. You know, most people, myself included, you sit down, you play the same handful of things every time you sit down at a guitar.
The go-tos.
That like forces you to think differently.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, you just play this one. Like if you try something and practice, it's like you're right there. It's not like dragging a baritone up there. And it's like, for this song, I'm committed for the baritone, you know?
Yeah. Right.
That's going to be challenging.
Ooh, that would be cool. To have a baritone on top.
Oh.
Double neck baritone.
They make that too.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
Now I want that.
Baritone and regular. Yeah.
Yeah,
the only thing is
what
that
about
gets
like
confusing with the keys.
Yeah, that's true.
When I learned a song on a baritone, so I've played a baritone once on a Sunday. This was a long time ago. And I just memorized the song. And at no point did I tell myself
what key you were in.
Yes, that like I was just playing this shape and it's a B, but now it's something else. It was like, no, this song's in B.
Just pretend.
And I'm on the big boy guitar.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? So that would, I think, be difficult if I know the song and I'm in one key and I know it, to jump over here and play it in a different key.
Yeah.
Theoretically not confusing, but like we said, it's one of those things. If you don't practice it,
well,
you're likely to jump to the baritone and not think about it and go,
Just
we're going to the
stay in G,
bridge.
Right.
And you go to, and you're like,
wrong key.
you know, your sixth is off by your sixth chord is off by 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
a lot.
not something you should do like quick decision. Like you should practice first.
Yes.
Right. Not an impromptu
Not
move.
an impromptu.
Yeah.
It's like a guy that we used to play with that played bass.
Yeah.
He was a fantastic bass player. You hand him a 5-string and he couldn't play.
Right.
He would.
Oh, right.
It's like he had no
muscle memory.
No muscle memory of playing a 5-string and didn't really practice with one. And so it was hilarious to watch him play on a 5-string because he would hit the wrong note.
That's how I feel with a 7-string.
The last note of the song. Boom, wrong note.
So wrong. Yeah,
that's how I feel with a 7. Is now I only can play triads and small shapes. And now my chords don't make sense.
Right.
Any bar chord, any first position cowboy, like doesn't. I can't do it.
You're out. Right. Yeah.
So now I'm like only, and really I would just be avoiding it. I wouldn't even know how to use it. Eventually I'd figure out that, okay, all my bar chords just get a 5 on the bottom.
Well,
Right?
Actually what a lot of people do with a 7-string is you actually drop tune it. So you get like a
Drop D.
drop D. Yeah, you drop the
Yes.
the bottom string a step, so you can actually play like, so it goes down to an A. So you can play like an A chord shape.
Yeah.
All the way down the neck.
Oh,
You get like an extra octave.
and then you get, and then you would be getting the drop D like low 3 formation, but you
Yes.
also get the bigger chords.
But you're
up
in
top.
A. So
Right.
it's kind of like being.
I'm already confused. I mean, but yeah, I get it. I get it, but like I couldn't. If you were like,
I mean, look,
play the guitar, I don't know. I'd have to. What I would have to do is translate every song into A.
correct.
I still couldn't do
it's
it.
really
I still
weird.
couldn't do it
I
because it's a whole nother string.
Again, it's not something you should do impromptu. You should practice
This
first
weekend I'm going to
before.
down tune this too.
Do you have a 7-string?
No,
That's surprising.
I actually is surprising.
Harley
Benson? Nothing?
They have. I mean, they make a 7 and an 8-string guitar. I think on a long enough time scale, I'll have one.
Yeah.
I actually prefer 6-string. I prefer like drop tuning on a 6-string.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
drop C is low enough too. I feel like that's like,
What are we really doing?
and when you go lower, you have to really account for it too, like in your tone and the vibe and everything. Where I feel like with drop C, it's not like a whole different genre.
Yeah.
Kind of just play like normal.
Yeah, like
tone.
a lot of music that you listen to is in drop C, or not that you guys listen to, but like most Nickelback songs are in drop C, but they don't really sound like they're down-tuned guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Can I ask a question like along all these lines of double neck, 12-string, 7-string, down-tuned guitar?
Okay.
You know, I showed this guitar to my wife, and she's like, "You're not playing that at church, are you?" And I said, "Absolutely, I'm playing it at church. I can't wait." She's like, "No, John, really?" And in my head, I thought, this is the most boomer thing I'll do, but I'm going to do it proudly, and I'm into it. But I do understand, and I notice there are people who might be like, that's distracting, or the 7 string is like too much, or like what, is there any validity to those things? Because I'll be honest, when I hear people say like, oh, that could be distracting, or that's like a little show off, or that's...
Are you talking about at a church?
Yeah, I'm talking about specifically at church, like on Sunday morning. Look, if I'm in a Jimmy Page... If I'm in a Zeppelin tribute band, this is totally appropriate.
Yes,
like table stakes.
I'm getting the gig
a
because
Sir would be out of place. Like, why are you playing a Jam Pro?
You have to have that, and you have to have a bunch of Les Pauls, and then a Telecaster. And
but I'll tell you, my attitude is when I see this, I start thinking of all the places I can throw something in. I can do something creative. I can have a good time. I don't go to a huge church like that has a lot of names and stuff. There's some of those around here, but like my attitude is 100%. I'm kind of doing this. At worst for me, at best for the music. At no point do I care what anyone else is thinking.
Yeah.
And so is there any validity to like this is a distraction argument? How do you guys feel? 7 strings, mandolins, baritones?
We had a running joke.
Explorers, Vs, like, right?
I'm going to start there. So we had a running joke at our church that we played out together. I was the music director and he played on the band. He would send me pictures all the time of like ridiculous reverb listings.
Yeah.
It was like, would you kick me off stage if I brought
I
this?
always was. I'm very interested to find the limit. What is the most outrageous guitar that I could bring that you would say, And
a lot of times you thought I would say no. I'm like, no, that's fine. And you're like, this is fine. What would? And then there was a couple that you found the limit. It was like, no, absolutely, you can't play that.
Yeah, we figured out that like a natural like Carina Explorer was like the limit. A black or a white one. You could get away with that? I could get away with a natural wood Explorer.
Yeah.
But a black or a white one.
See, I disagree. I played a Sunburst Explorer at my church in San Francisco on and off for years.
Yeah, but that was in San Francisco.
Yeah, but who cares? Everyone is from California.
I would say a checkerboard Explorer would be out. But this is to your point. Like, why is checkerboard distracting? Like, what's the person saying?
To me, checkerboard's okay as long as you don't actually glue a king and queen like chess piece onto it for decoration.
Like the knobs that are like chess
pieces.
Like a functional checkerboard.
What I was gonna say is,
who walks in? This is, I guess, is my question. Who walks in, looks at the guitar, and goes, "Well, now I can't focus." Like if I'm playing this, or if this is lime green, you might notice it for exactly 3 seconds, and then you're done. Right?
It's an interesting thing.
I think it's more about the musicality, and it's more about how you choose it. Look, these are tools.
Yeah.
Right. They can be used for good or for evil.
Yes.
Right. I can come in with a very, with the most, I don't know, the most like vanilla guitar possible, right? For the situation, and then play it terribly and play with way too much distortion and you know what I mean? And just start shredding all the time and be unmusical
out
about
of the genre.
And so now it's not the guitar that's distracting, it's me that's distracting.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you could play beautiful music on a lime green acoustic. Like Gibson has a lime green acoustic.
Right. I don't think, but the problem with what you're saying is not that it's somehow distracting. It's that sucks. That's like playing the wrong chord. It's not that it somehow like would take someone out of it. I'm not of the opinion that there is any solo so blazing and so incredible that it could, that if it's, as long as it's not like completely inappropriate.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I feel like it's more about, are you playing the music that's appropriate for the song?
Agreed. You got to serve the song.
Then it, as long as you're doing that in a tasteful way, I think it matters way less what you're playing it on.
Right.
But still matters.
But matters a little bit.
Do you think anybody? But do you think anyone gives a shit what David Hislop buys and plays? Zero.
Right.
Absolutely
I
zero.
think they do. I think they do.
Never. I've watched him buy. I've never seen him like buy a guitar that didn't end up there. Red.
I don't know.
Bright color.
Well, the guitars he's buying are probably within the threshold.
I get that a BC Rich Warlock with a demon's head on it.
These are the ones John would send me. Can I play this on stage?
Okay, I get that.
It was always the BC Rich
like
one.
a super bright yellow like Strat copy. Like no, don't.
Or like one with like a skull on it or something.
Okay, the skull and stuff like demonic imagery. Of course.
Remember there was one
that was great thread.
There was one that was carved to look like a skeleton that was glow in the dark.
I was like, you can't play that on Sunday. You can't do it. It's just,
of course, any sort of demonic or occult imagery would be like directly opposed. But a bright color. That's completely arbitrary line. Who says Goldie's not too bright and flashy?
It has been called ugly.
It has been called ugly numerous times. Also, in the 80s...
In the comments of our videos.
Yeah.
Oh, they're wrong.
There's some Goldie haters.
I play pink guitars. I play pink guitars. I have 2 pink guitars I play. I play a blue one. Someone walked up to me the other day and said, so I have to ask you, the pink guitar, the baby blue guitar, is there a story behind those? And I just went, no, they're cool. What are you talking about? Yeah. These are awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Look,
like,
all I'll say, okay, so if you walk in with a, with a loud looking instrument, right? You know what I mean by that,
I played
that
at church for a year, filling in on bass, and I played it in clubs, and it was awesome. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to hold it.
Yeah. If you walk in with something that's visually loud,
yes,
and you play visually or like musically distracting, then that's no good. But if you walk in with something that's visually loud, but you play serving the music, and you know what I mean?
Yes.
Then I feel like you can get away with a lot more looks than you can. You know what I mean? It matters less.
Like you earned it. Like you earned it with how you played.
Yeah, if you walk in with a glow-in-the-dark skeleton guitar and play it at church, it doesn't matter how well you serve the music.
Because it's beyond some threshold.
Yes. So there's like a balance.
Yeah.
I think that's well within the balance.
No, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hope this is not.
I don't think anyone's going to be like, they really should tell that guy not to play that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
It's just weird.
I'm definitely going on Sunday now.
See, it's weird that Suze, though, you pointed out, and I would say the line that you pointed out is kind of arbitrary. Like for you, the bright color was like too much.
You should have seen it, John.
I'm imagining the bright yellow, bright green, but also there was a time, like when those were the most popular, there was a time in the 80s where bright colors in fashion were just a little more like, lots of people just would have like there'd be a like neon orange,
kind of like the sweater you're wearing currently.
See, I wore this on Sunday. Do you know how many people went, oh, I love that 90s sweatshirt? It's like, it's I'm already a guy that, has had blonde hair and purple. I was purple. I put lightning bolts. Like, there's already an amount of like,
style.
So maybe I can get away with a little more than like, but dude, there's a lot there's a lot of dudes who, I just see the comments sometimes. They're like, I've never played that at church, or like, but I'll never play this at church, like my Floyd Rose at church. And I'm thinking like, but why not? It's fine.
Yeah.
Play whatever you want, man.
Yeah. I think, look, confidence goes a long way. And if you just own it and, again, serve the music, that's the biggest thing. If you're not serving the music, then it doesn't matter what you bring.
Yeah.
But if you're serving the music and you believe in what you're doing and you're confident in it, man, I think you can get away with a lot.
How about that?
I'd play that.
I called this the Rising Sun bass.
We should put new strings on it, though. They're like visibly dirty.
Those are my old flat wounds. Yeah.
Oh, that's why they look weird. Does that bass sound good?
Yeah.
Can I play us out on bass today?
Sure. Is there an input jack that works there? One of the pots fell in that guitar years ago. I never pulled it out.
I should fix it. I'll fix it for you.
You should. It's a little difficult to get all the tape off. Well, I might have to get new tape. Once you pull it off, it doesn't always stick again.
Oh, I think it would be all right.
So I don't know. My real take, it was real. I never planned to open that up. My real take here is like, I don't know, man.
I think it's good to push the envelope.
I think you got to push the envelope. Yeah. You just got to push the envelope and play what's awesome musically, and who cares? Like, but I don't know. There's just a weird thing that exists of like people being distracted. And I'm just like, well, look, I can't be responsible if people have the attention span of a guppy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like if the color of this distracts you, go away. There's not an aesthetic that we're after, even though we go for that.
Right.
Like just call a spade a spade. The gospel is open to all nations. So if you limit your expression of the church, I'm just saying, I love this. If you really are drawing a line at what is a cultural appropriateness, there is something actually like that you should be able to dig a little deeper and go, well, actually, if someone came in here with dress from another culture that I perceived as sincere, I'm not talking about like if someone came in an inflatable suit. like an inflatable T-Rex suit, right? We'd go, this is not cold. This is not, you're like trying to
the
get a
Halloween
laugh.
ones, like they're walking around the neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah. Right. If that, then you'd be like, sir, can you silence the fan? You know what I mean? Can you silence the fan on this suit?
Yeah.
But at some level, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no, if it's like, hey, well, even if it's like, hey, we dress up here. Like, there's a little bit of that's even like borderline, like, well, I don't know. This is.
Oh, that's interesting.
What is dress up?
I would choose to not go to that place.
Yeah.
Okay, hypothetically, like what you did to me.
But I've
like
been to y'all's church.
If Jay,
go ahead, sorry.
No, if Jay, one of our bass players texted me and said, hey, I got a new tuxedo. I'd like to wear a tuxedo on Sunday to play bass.
Right.
It would be the same conversation. Like, that's distracting. But it looks nice, though. It's nice dress. Yeah, but everyone's going to be focused on, like, why is that guy in a full-on tuxedo?
Some churches, though, only wear tuxedo. Like, everyone wears a
right,
suit.
But
like, you wouldn't dare show up without a...
Yeah. But in our context, all eyes would be drawn to that. And they might be thinking, like, why... That's what I think when people talk about distraction in worship. It's like,
but I think
you're drawing attention to yourself, not to the music or something else.
That is a strange view of people. People would go, I wonder if he's speaking today. And then they would move on. They would not, for 9 solid minutes of worship, like debate in their head all the reasons that man could be. Also, the fact that he's the bass player means most people probably would never even look at him, because I can tell you how many weeks.
True.
I can tell you how many weeks I've played. Yeah. I've played on church for months. I play my church all the time. I've played, and then I go to the front door, and the greeters go, "Hello, is it your first time here?" And I'm like, "Excuse me."
Yeah.
But I'm not really in the front row. I'm not always lit the most. Right. You know what I mean? So people aren't even looking. A lot of people just look right up at the words. They're not really taking in.
The thing is, though, I feel like to be distracting doesn't mean you need to take 100% of their attention away from the morning.
Yeah,
right? I feel like even a solid minute of like pondering why you're doing what you're doing is distracting.
But you're not really doing anything strange. I mean, it's not like you're walking up there doing the gritty across the stage or something. He's wearing clothing.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like that's... look,
top hat monocle. I get what you're saying. If the guy just shows up in a suit, right? It's a fine line.
These are all fine lines, exactly.
But I'm saying, right? It's a fine line. If it's just a suit, even a tux, I don't know. It'd be a little formal.
A tuxedo that's too much.
How about motivation? Why are you wearing that? Is it for you? Are you trying to make a statement? Are you trying to be out of the box? Like you said, am I doing this at worst case for me, best case for the music? That's the line.
Right.
It's like some of the guitars you sent me, it's like, you're just trying to be weird. And we're not doing that on Sunday.
Right. No, to be clear, I wasn't actually.
Yes.
Oh, no. That made it better.
I was mostly joking.
Yeah. Right. I mean, definitely.
Some of them.
I'm not saying there's no line, like there's
that's helpful.
There's the naked chick decal that, like, what's his name? CC DeVille used on his signature.
What if it's on the back of the guitar?
Probably okay.
Just make sure you don't have one of those guitar stands. It's like sideways.
It's just it's a weird thing, and it is a cultural thing at every place. But I would even, if the line is a cultural line, is that a good line? Because if it wouldn't be appropriate one place, how could it be appropriate another place?
The context is different.
It's the context.
Why does that determine? So there you go. You've made the assumption that somehow is a good argument.
No, I'm not.
Why is that a good argument? That the context? Why is the cultural context, or even the hyper local cultural context? Right. I've been to y'all's church. It's not a cult. You don't have to wear khakis as a child, but there's a lot of
as a child.
But how many people at your church? Most of the
children are wearing khakis
because their mothers are just going, well, these are like nicer pants. This is what you wear to be a little nicer.
Sunday's
We're not dressing you in a suit, kid.
Right.
No, because they're not in a church wear. So a suit would be weird. Mm-hmm. So we just, for context, have decided a little nicer than normal. Like something maybe a little nicer than either your private school, but come on, most of those kids are homeschooled. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like a little nicer, but not too nice is what we do. Too nice would be too much. Too little would be too little. But then you got some churches over here. I wear a suit and a tie. You see those guys, and they all are in suits and stuff. Yeah. And then it's like you couldn't possibly be too nice. Right? So there is no too nice. Now it's only too little. And even khakis, like, well, you sit in the back. What about non-pleated khakis?
But what's your point here, though?
My point is, it's all arbitrary. even if we say it's the context of like, well, this is what people do. No one really dictated that, right? It's just sort of like it's.
Yeah, but it's more about how outside the context you are, right?
Why is the context important? And if we all...
Because if everyone goes expecting to see khakis and some guy's wearing, I don't know, something ridiculous,
right,
then he's going to be the person that grabs attention. But if you go into where everyone's wearing the wacky stuff and some guy's wearing khakis, then he's going to be the guy that grabs the attention. It's all a matter of what's, one of these things is not like the other.
Right.
That's the whole point.
Something's wrong.
So it doesn't
here.
matter what the culture is. It's a matter of like how far outside that culture you are. That's how distracting you're going to be.
Where does conformity rank on like the hierarchy of like
importance? Or
especially in this context,
it depends on the church. I think that there's probably some churches that care that where it's all a melting pot, and you've got, and I feel like the church we went to or go to is, there's a lot of there's khakis.
No, you could wear jeans and stuff. You could be real casual. You wouldn't notice.
There's a lot of stuff.
I was just pointing out that we're in the South. And it's a church where you see the minivan doors open up and 3 kids of varying heights get out and they're all kind of dressed alike. Right. And it's just you can tell that's intentional. Mom picked out the clothes the night before for a reason. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not like just get your play clothes, kid.
Yeah.
And so and that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with wearing nicer clothes to church.
I don't.
But what is nicer? Saying. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like this is a.
Well, I mean, just in my own life, like. For the most people don't probably realize I wear a black t-shirt. I've worn a plain black t-shirt every day since I was a junior in high school.
Yeah, and you only own 3 of them.
I don't have any other t-shirts.
Right.
Yeah,
I only own black t-shirts.
Yes, me as well now.
And if
I'm kind of copying you,
and if I'm in a situation where I can't wear a black t-shirt, I get uncomfortable. I don't like being in a situation
like a wedding.
Right.
Yeah, like I like stress out completely.
Interesting.
And do you ever wear one of those tuxedo t-shirts?
Those were the best.
No.
True story. My brother wore one of those to my wedding.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. I typically would have to go to a store to buy clothes the night before
for an event.
An event like that, because I just don't own it. And then by the time it's time to wear one again, I've lost it.
Right.
Do you think it would be appropriate if a guitar were too distracting that we get kind of like one of those like drummer shields, but the ones that go like halfway up solid and then it's glass, but we put that in front of the guitar player?
To hide his guitar?
That's like Todd used to do with pedal boards.
I feel like that's super distracting. I feel like that's
distracting.
Remember
this is
the pedal board covers?
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like I had a Buddha Bud wah. That's a popular wah pedal. And I remember one of the ushers at my previous church in California said, this is distracting. We don't want to. So he covered it up. And I was like,
because it said Buddha on the front?
And I was like, Buddha's not even spelled the way that Buddha is spelled. It's not even spelled like
different
the fat
word.
guy.
Yeah.
It's not. It's spelled. It's a different word. Like it's this is. And the joke was it's like supposed to be like butter, smooth as butter. Like But I don't know what's that about.
Look,
the lights are. I had them tell me one time the lights were distracting because it was flickering. It was tapping the tempo.
Oh, really?
And I was like, is your job now to figure out to find something to justify your time?
Right.
Like, is anyone distracted by this?
Well, I also feel. I mean, look. Let's be honest. Like, it's hard to find more particular people than at a church, right? That like what they like and they don't like stuff.
Anything
else. Don't change it.
Well, this brings up like what I just said. Where does conformity lie on the list of like desirable traits? It's certainly not in the fruits of the spirit. I looked. Conformity. I didn't find it quite in there.
In preparation for this conversation, I hope the comments go off on this video. I hope people engage with it. I want to know.
It's one of these very confusing things because one of the tenets of our religion is like really to put off your uniqueness, to take up your cross, right? To die to yourself and follow the way. Also, it's to be separated, sanctified, different, not partake, right? To leave and cleave. They're almost opposing ideas. Mm-hmm. And maybe the ideas are about the context for what are you applying the idea of being separated, and what are you applying the idea of being one or in unity.
Right.
But this to me is where it gets very murky. You know what I mean? Because it's like, of course we have like worldwide representation, just not here. Not this morning here. Right. It's like, that's for someone else, somewhere else. You know what I mean? Now, but I mean, again, if that dude walks in and he's just in some weird thing and you're like, I think that's normal to him.
But it's like when you have missionaries come visit, right? And they're wearing what they would wear to church on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, you're wearing stuff that clearly none of us wear because you're from a different country.
Right.
And what's like, you know, Sunday best for you is completely different for us.
Totally.
And I feel like, I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of it. I think it's just a matter of like, I think for most people, I mean, I feel like for most people, it's the fear of being the outsider, which is why. And like, let's just be honest, you don't have as much of that as most people. I think you have less of that. That's why you're okay with like
the fear of being an outsider.
Yeah, I think you're okay with pushing the limit more than most people are.
You might have a fear of being the insider.
It's possible. It's possible. What I mean, and it's funny because as you were saying that, I was thinking about even when you get into like more conservative places in theology, you're going to find some places that would be like jeans, that's a sin. But you'll also find places that are so conservative that like, and are a little more rural, and they're going to be wearing church overalls, definitely made of denim. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, and that's, and those guys are probably on the same level of like conservative, like belief. It's just,
and the funny part,
culturally, what we wear is not really prescribed. So it's like up to kind of every different type of interpretation, which is weird to me that it just falls on such opposite ends of the spectrum. You go to Mount Juliet right now, very close to us.
Right.
There are people Sunday morning in church overalls.
Right.
They got their work overalls, and they got their church overalls.
The funny part is that none of that matters. That's not the point of any of it. Yeah, we put so much importance on it, you know.
Interesting.
And again, that's what points to it being like a human problem. It's not a religion problem. It's a human problem. We are afraid to be the outsider. Mostly. Some people aren't, and that's okay. You know?
18 string.
18 string.
I mean, it all comes down to that, you know. Are you the guy who plays the 18 string, or aren't you?
The moral of the story.
So good.
The moral of the story, you know?
Yeah.
Are you doing it or not, you know?
I can't wait to be there on Sunday.
I hope you come.
I'm going to show up.
So
I got to see.
Come through. Come through. It's going to be fun, you know? I couldn't be at a place that would like second guess this.
Of course not.
I couldn't.
That's not you.
I couldn't be there.
Yeah.
You know?
That's okay.
Deal breaker for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go to a place that wouldn't let me wear a black t-shirt.
Right. Right.
Right? We all have our own things.
So true.
Right.
If I were to play on a Sunday and I showed up in black jeans and a black t-shirt and they're like, where's your collared shirt? I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And I would just leave.
Right.
Do I pack up now or do I do it like
have we reached an impasse? Like, this is what I'm wearing.
Right.
I'd be like, wait, what time is dinner being served? Not included.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Please validate my parking. All right. Well, I think we've run out of time to build a Nauticlon.
The Nauticlon, just sitting there.
We should do like a video on it.
Yeah, we'll do it on the next episode.
Or that.
We'll see maybe we'll time.
That box is bigger than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it's good. It's all laid out in there. You know, they're all separate, so nothing's inside itself.
Next time.
Yeah. Next time. I've been. What did we decide on this? Did we conclude anything?
That guitar is cool, and
this is cool.
The other one, I don't know.
That guitar is cool. Be yourself. Be proud.
There you go.
There you go.
And don't get mad when you get 80% off. That's a lot of discount.
And how good is classical music? I mean, super good, right?
Music.
Oh, yeah.
Really awesome.
Lots of stuff. And pink guitars.
Yeah.
Well, we covered a lot.
Okay, in conclusion, let's say you have the best of intentions. You absolutely pure heart. You're not looking for any self-recognition. Mm-hmm. Canons in worship. Too much?
No, it could totally work.
It for sure could work.
You'd have to like create a moment, but you could do it.
Like 4th of July.
Yeah. I would recommend being outside, but yes. Yeah.
All right. Later.